quick Christmas card that you can do using one stamp from Stampscapes. The neat thing about Stampscapes is he does all the work for you. So even though it looks as though I worked really hard to get all my color in here, I really didn't, because he has more black going down on this tree and this tree than he does on this one. And so when I rub my ink in there, I get a lot less ink here and a lot more here and here, and then I have this great variation in color for not very much effort. This is embossed right here. This, I know everybody's got several Merry Christmases, so all you have to do is find the one that matches in style to the style that you're creating here. So I would say that this is, you know, an elegant scroll, very understated, very simple. So that might be something that you look at when you're choosing your Merry Christmas stamp. The other thing I used that was really helpful was a Spellbinders Nestabilities, and I think I like it because it's neither masculine nor feminine. It's a very excellent design, and I think that you could use an oval here and get a great result, and even just a plain rectangle. So I'm not sure you necessarily need this one, but there's your ID number if you need that. This is the size I'm using, so let's see. Okay, so it's about the third one in. It is the third one in. One thing I am finding is that some folks have their machines like a Cuttlebug or a Spellbinder or a Big Shot, etc., and are not having luck sometimes in getting a good cut and a good impress. So I think it's worth, if you're confused about this, I think it's worth looking up some YouTubes and having a good look at people doing this. There's lots on there. You can see on here, at least I hope you can, that I have an indent here that was created from the frame. So you're forcing the paper that you just cut in there with a piece of rubber in order to make this indent around the edge, and that's how you get this. So instead of making this video super long, I'm pretty sure that there's some excellent videos out there to show you how to do this. And, you know, it's not necessary to have the imprint in there either. So you could take any oval and punch it out, or trace it out, or do a circle and have the circle here, do your trees, and then have your ribbon come under here, and then maybe put your Merry Christmas over here somewhere. So there's a lot of ways to handle this without having to buy everything. Dig around in your stuff and see what you can do. Okay, after that super long explanation, let's see what we can do to get started. I'm taking my stamp here, and this one has not been used. Somehow after class I had misplaced my beautiful Stampscapes stamp, and I had to buy myself a new one, so it's a little distressing, but this is a good time to talk to you about how thirsty a new rubber stamp is. You're not going to get a good impression right away. So let's take a look and see how we did. I'm certainly not going to stamp my beautiful pristine cut out piece of paper first, so let's take a look here. Oh, look at how beautiful. You don't even have to do anything. That looks awesome. You could use a little bit more ink here. That's probably why it's a good idea to put something on its back and ink up in from the corners in. Every time I do a project that involves nice, strong black ink, I make sure that I re-ink it first so I have great quality color. Let's stamp here one more time. That's better. Okay, so make sure you've got your stamped well primed before you start stamping with the new stamp. Okay, so I'll ink this up real well. And I'm going to tilt it, make sure it's got a good shine on it. I didn't miss anything. I'm going to, you can't tell, but I'm standing up because I like to see straight down into my artwork so I know where I'm getting my placement. And the other thing you have to take into account is the top of this tree is going to be not all the way up to the top of the block. On this one it's at least 1/8 of an inch in, if not more. So I want to take that into account because when I line my block up here, I want to know that my rubber stamp is not really going to start until another 1/4 inch down. So because I want my trunks to show at the bottom, be really careful with that placement. Press down really well. wood blocks can handle this, so it's awesome. Okay, that looks great. How can it not with the Stampscapes? Honestly, beautiful. Wouldn't even have to color this if you wanted to be a little lazy. Okay, so same thing. I'm stamping while standing up. I'm going to make sure my stamp overlaps. I'm going to come down a little farther, not too low. And I don't want to come too low because then I'd have to come really low on this side, and I don't want to do that either. Okay, I like that. Maybe perhaps a bit too much overlapping here, but I'm okay with that. Look up really well again. Make sure you apply the corner here where sometimes the ink puddles up in these corners, so add a lot of ink to the center of that stamp. All the way around. Okay. And then don't come down too far, but come down farther than this one so we get a little bit of variation. Okay. Alright, that'll do. Okay, I'm getting ready to add my green to this. And it's going to go on the trees, but now I've just had a thought. How about we don't use the green right off since we just stamped? Let's do the blue around the top. Let's give this a little chance to dry. The other thing I've done is I am stamping on black just because it shows up really well on the video, but there's a bunch of ink down here, and I'm going to be rubbing my blue into this, and I don't want to pick up the ink I just deposited right down here. And that's something you want to think about too, because these are water-based, so you're going to add water from here to maybe some extra ink that's over here, and then you're going to get it into your blue up here. So I'm going to take this off, remove this, and tuck it underneath because I can use it again, of course. Okay, and now I feel a little safer. Okay, I'm going to tilt this at an angle that's really good for me. Let's take a look at this. We're depositing a lot of ink up here. We're getting less as we come down here. Okay, and then we're deliberately leaving white around the edges. We could bring the ink all the way down into the black, but I like the white. I feel like it makes it look a little ethereal, and that perhaps there's a lot of snow back off in the distance, and I think it highlights the black really well. So you get the dark blue, the white that makes the black pop out, and the green pop out, and I think that's why the card works for me. Okay, so I'm placing this so that I have control. I'm right-handed, and I'm taking this kind of a tool. This is the favorite tool to me that was ever invented. I did have a customer try using the round one, and I understand the round one by Tim Holtz is great, but because I didn't have a corner, it was harder to get into here and make it look natural, whereas the round one didn't quite get in there, and it kept catching the edges of the trees, and instead of kind of having a corner tucked in here, we had more of a round edge. So up to you, and that is another reason why I probably wouldn't use something like this. Although I have customers that swear by this and they love these, and I think it's a matter of what you're used to. So there's a lot of alternatives. Plain old sponge would do too. So here I am with my denim. I've placed my felt tip over the Velcro so I don't scratch. They seem to not make these to quite cover the pieces of Velcro, so I like to protect it, and then I always go on an angle. Okay, so I'm getting a bunch of color on here because I haven't used this yet, and then the other thing I'm doing is I'm actually getting rid of most of it over here because I don't want to splotch. Let's take a look at what happens when you splotch. Okay, I'm not doing anything to it, and I'm coming right at my trees, right from the top, and I've got a lot of splotching. And that's not the look I'm after. I'm after this soft look right here. And in order to get that, I need more control. So, let's do this again. pat, pat, pat on my ink, getting rid of a lot of it right here. And now I'm coming from the side gently. And look at, I've got this soft color. And that's what I'm after. So I'm going to do it again, get rid of my ink, come alongside in here. And I'm approaching my trees. And I'm adding more and more color, but I'm trying to stay away from the very edge of the trees. Coming right in there. Got my corner close to the tree line. And I want to get this part quite a bit darker. I'm going to get even more color added because I want really strong contrasting colors, and yet I want to keep the white. Okay, this is a good point for you to fast forward the video if you've done a lot of this and you're getting bored. But I'm going to go and do the whole thing because I think if you've never done this before, sometimes it's nice to watch it done from start to finish. I have a confession to make. Let's take a look at the one I discarded already because I wasn't being patient. I did okay here, and then you can see I got a little bored and dumped too much ink here, and then I got really bored and started dumping too much ink over there. So I've got some of those ink blotches there that I really don't like. So I'm going to go a lot slower and a lot more careful because I think that for you to watch and see how long it takes me to get that look might be a good thing. And then when you've just had enough, just fast forward. Okay, here's the thing. This tree is very close to the top here. So it's really easy to forget that you want to keep that white going around the top. So I'm going to be very careful when I come up here that I don't get too close to the top of that tree line. I'm going to have to be really patient here because I have to come all the way down. Somehow I don't mind being patient on the first time I make a card, but when it gets to be more than once, I start losing my patience. Okay, so you can see the corner on this Tim Holtz alcohol ink applicator, or Timmy to keep it short. It's really useful to get into the corner down there without leaving a round mark. Okay, now if I'm looking at this critically, I'm going to see I've got a lot more ink there here than here. So I'm going to come from this side more times than over here to blend the two shades together until I get to a point where I've got an even, soft look. What did we ever do without this Timmy? I just don't know. It changed the way I did Stampscapes cards and other cards, it really did. Come a little bit over here. Oh, I like the way that's starting to look. Much more blended. Add a little bit more color on this side. Takes a while, doesn't it? But if you don't, then you don't have any control. And I like to have control when I'm doing a lot of minutia on a card. I like to look a certain way, which probably makes my cards take a lot longer than they should. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the amount of color I have here. The only thing now is I'm going to go around the edges of this card right here, because I don't want it to look like suddenly there is no sky behind my tree. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because we're doing something else. I'm going to come along down this side here. Okay, I like that. And I love how the deep emboss right here gives me an attractive edge all the way around. Okay, so we're going to do some things on purpose to make that edge stand out even more. And we're going to take advantage of the fact that a very important part of this card is black. So we can't disregard the fact that we've used black on the card. We're going to have to do other things to the card to make the black work with the rest of the card. I'm ready to put the green on my trees, but I also know that I have quite a bit of blue right here. And I think it would be wise for me to make sure that I've got a clean edge on this side. So I know you can't see it from the video, but I can definitely see it when I'm looking at it. So I'm going to turn this around. Also, I know that my fingers are going to get into this ink right here, so maybe a smarter thing to do would be to take a piece, make sure, you can see I've used that side, so I'm going to use this side. And make sure that I'm not going to deposit anything there that I don't want to deposit. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wet wipe now and clean off my hands because I know that I've got loose ink on them. And there's parts of my card that I want to stay pristine, and I don't want to have blue in the wrong place and black in the wrong place. So I'm just going to be a little bit careful. I've got my green now. Here's my Adirondack Meadow. I'm going to start using that. Here's what my applicator looks like, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it this way, making sure that I cover the Velcro on this side. Then I use it on a tilt to stay away from this side. I'm going to take my ink, and in the same way, I'm going to get rid of the majority of it, even though we've got a lot of black stamp here to cover. And it won't be quite as essential for you to knock off your ink, except that it is nice to have control. Got a fuzzy right there. And then of course you're going to want to stay away from the tops of the trees. Whatever you can't get in green ink up at the top of the trees, I would just allow it to stay. Oops, I went direct there and that was a mistake. Because your eye will take care of the rest if you can't quite get to the top. It's better than risking having green right here in the white. So just let your eye make up the illusion of having green where we haven't been able to place it. I'm also going to try and stay away from this area right here. I do want some of my trunk to show, and I'm not sure I want green in there. So that'll be a little difficult. I'm tilting my applicator quite a bit right now to try to stay away from that. And I'm not going all the way down. I think I'll have to turn my card around to make sure that I don't pollute that beautiful pristine white that I want to keep. That spot is always I feel comfortable with from that angle. You can see I've deposited a lot more color on that side, and I'm not super happy with that. I feel like I wasn't patient, and I put green where I didn't want it to be. Okay, I've got my Tim Holtz alcohol ink applicator totally tilted so that I'm only using this corner right here. So I can get down here and get my green on without getting green in the pristine white area that I want to keep. So we want to pretend that we've got snow there. Okay, now I'm doing another thing. I've got dirty little fingers here, and I'm getting awfully close to this. So check that out. Get rid of that. Okay, so I really like that. I've got good contrast here. I've got white, I've got white, I've got my black, and I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to flip this over because black is closer to blue than green, and I'm going to add black to this with the edge of this Timmy right here. Not worrying about some of the ink I deposited here because I just don't think that the black will allow it to get covered. Did that again. And look how much I'm getting off. Okay, so be very careful because you've got some white down here that you want to keep. Alright. I'm sure you wanted to see me wiping my hands that close to the screen. Okay, so now I'm going to edge this with black right here. And I'm going to do that because I want to show my card against the matte with a high contrast in color. And I like that framed look where I'm getting kind of a frame put around my card. Here, this will help. I'm putting black around this edge right here. And I'm being careful because I don't want black to be the predominant color. I just want the edge around my card. I'm going to come down this side. Okay, not too bad. Make sure to go down this side. Okay, so this is actually good because you're seeing all the splotches right here, and then you're seeing a more controlled application around the edges here. So that was actually good to see. Make sure that your black, when you're putting your black on, you really don't go past a certain mark because you want blue here. You really do. You just want the frame as well. Perhaps just a little bit more black over here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so before we keep going, let's talk about how we picked our background papers. And remember when we said that we had picked our Merry Christmas based on an understated, elegant script? I feel like this paper is that way too. Now, if all you were seeing was the swirls, that would be a problem. But when I add this, I've cut down on the swirls. And what's important now is, does this color match this one? And I think it's pretty good. And I think that's all you got to worry about. So make sure this matches this. Okay, no Kelly greens or anything else. These are a little grayed out. This is a little grayed out. I think that helps a lot. Okay, so a little understated, elegant paper, and I think that's the look we're going for. Okay, now here's something. I want to add snow to the bottom, but I don't want loud sparkly snow. I want an understated look. So what I did is I'm going to use a piece of glitter paper. Let's see if we can capture a little bit of light here. And the glitter paper makes it so it's snow. It's got a little bit of shine, but the operative word is a little bit of shine. Not loud, not obvious, okay? So I think this is a really good option. The only thing is, I don't want a straight line. And I want to capture these trunks here because I think it's important to look as though we've got some differences in the way the trees look. If I go like this, then it's not as appealing as if I let the trunk show right here. And yet I want more snow, so therefore I'm going to put a swoop in here that will cut down below the trunks and come up a little higher for a little more coverage under these trees. Let's take a look at the sample. Okay, so I've done a little swoop here. I've come down to get my rolling hill to accommodate those trunks because this is not a lot of space right here. It's just a very little. It gives me the look I want, but not too much. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Okay, here's mine. I'm gonna get rid of this for a sec. Alright, so take your good scissors and cut a little swoop in here. Of course, we don't want a static edge either. We want to make sure that we've got snow that looked like it snowed and got blown around a little bit. I'm going to put a gentle swoop in there, not too much, and then try not to make my taller swoops exactly match. I think that's okay. I'm going to get rid of that right there. Smooth out that edge a little bit right there. Can't help myself. I have to make it just so. Okay. Let's put it down and see what happened. Okay, so I'm going to cover up that green grass that doesn't make sense. I'm going to keep some trunk. And I have a little bit of swerve here. The only thing that's bothering me right now is that these two sides are too even, so I'm going to do something about that. Just looks a little too the same on both sides. Okay, that's better. How about that? Okay. Let's take some glue. There's too much glue right there. Okay, now I want to place this. Cover my tree, or cover my grass on the bottom. Keep my trunks. Okay. Grab my wet wipe, because you know I'm going to roll something into that puddle of glue right there. And I'm going to get this. Okay, but that does not look like this one. Something wrong here. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut from the back. Alright, I am not using my great scissors, because I don't want glue on them. So I'm going to take my second best scissors, and I'm going to follow the back of this. Okay, so just so you know, I just cleaned up my workspace around here, and I think the biggest thing I see when I'm at class is that going from step to step, we let all our stuff pile around here. And then you get glue on something, or you flip this onto your wet wipe, or you flip it onto a pile of glue, or something like that. So when it matters to me quite a bit, every time I go to a new step, I tidy everything up to the point of putting my scissors away, and I know it's crazy, but I think it helps you not have an accident. So let's take a look at our card, minus our poor little bow there. And I want to take a look at this line right here. You're going to see black right here. And let me show you what I did. I took the exact same size cut in my die, and I cut one in black. Because I've got black around the edge here. And if I were to take my background paper and put this on, it doesn't look framed well. There's something missing down here. This looks great. Love that. Don't like this. So let's take a look at this. Okay, and you can see I cut badly there. But that looks a lot better. And on top of that, I think I'm going to add, with my Timmy, some black and grate here and see if I can kind of obfuscate my little boo-boo over there. Okay. And it's only because we're looking at these cards so close that we can even tell that there's a problem. So I'm going to take the edge of this, take the edge of this, carefully add some ink to the edge. Yikes, I'm really unhappy with that bauble right there. I'm probably about to make it worse. Close your eyes. Maybe a little better? I don't know. Okay, let's go back to rescuing this. You get a little pile of fuzzy there with some black on it. I wouldn't rub it because you're going to put a black streak on it. Blow it off instead. Alright. Okay, that's better. I think that's better. Right, this is going to go here. Let's take a look on some white paper because it'll show up better. Okay, you can see my little cut here. I'm going to push this up a little bit just to kind of hide the fact that more is cut off on that side and this side. Alright. This would be a good time for a zig thin-tipped glue stick, or something like this, which is only providing very little glue. You use too much glue and you're going to have a riveled and shriveled up little mess. Okay, so we don't need any of this actually. We just need the bottom. So I'm going to dump it over there, and then I'm going to kind of scoot this way with it. Try to hide the fact that I did some creative cutting on the left side. Okay, I think I like that, and that's all you need. It seems kind of a shame to have that whole piece on the back there, but it's way easier to just go ahead and cut something twice and then move it around a bit. Okay, so I'm wiping my hands with a wet wipe here, getting rid of this, getting this, and I'm taking a look at this. Okay, I like it. This bugs me. Alright, okay, let's take some measurements. Alright, so in general, if you use this exact die, at the point on the left and right, we'd be looking at 3 7/8. Okay, and then on this top part right here, not including the black, we've got 2 3/4 inches. Okay, so that way, if you need to measure something like an oval or a square, you can kind of get a general estimation of how much you want to leave for color right here. All right, so let's take a measurement of this one. This is 4 7/8 this way, and 3 5/8 this way. On the original card, I've got another black one here, another black mat right here, before I wrap the ribbon around. And that's important too, because we're making a bow to the fact that we've used black ink here, we've used black mat right here, and now we're going to put black mat right here, because there's not a lot of colors going on here. We've got blue, we've got 2 neutrals, a black and a white, and the green, and silver, you know, might as well be a little bit white really. So so it's important that we frame out these two things and acknowledge the black in the picture. It makes the frame look much more finished. If you were to just have white, let's take a look at that. Okay, far less impressive, even if you were to just have an edge of white like this. Doesn't have the same effect. So let's get our black and take a look at how much of a difference that makes. Okay, way better. I told you the measurements for this. Let's take a measurement here. This is 3 3/4. This is 3 5/8. Let's turn it this way. This is 1/8 inch less. Here's 5 inches across, and this one was 4 7/8 across. 1/8 of an inch less. Okay, and then that gives us just a thin trim of black all the way around. So let's take a look at our card. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put these two mats together right here, not the white, because I want my ribbon to go around the black, okay? Okay, I've put my ribbon on. I've prepped the back of this card with foam mounting, just pretty thin. And so the foam mounting is underneath the black, like so. And then this one also has foam mounting on it. And the ribbon I've picked kind of picks up elements of this green, and there's a little kind of a old vintage gold mixed in with this ribbon that helps match it with the swirl. So just whatever you can get that kind of matches this. It might look good with blue too if we take a look at this. Okay, so I've got my foam mounting on this, and I'm going to center it in my card. So I'm going to take those off and apply it to my glitter paper. Okay, I'm going to measure the white glitter paper now, so you've got that measurement. It is 5 1/8. So everything is separated by 1/8 here. And 3 7/8 here. It looks like there's more white around here because it's been raised up by the foam mounting. Don't forget to put tiny little pieces of foam mounting in your centers so that when, you know, somebody inevitably touches it and, you know, looks at it, then it doesn't collapse inwards. So okay, so that looks good. Before I mount it on my card, I think what I'm gonna do is, I probably should have done it first. I'm gonna emboss my Merry Christmas here, and I'm gonna put my snowflakes on. I really should have put my Merry Christmas there first. I wonder if I can even get it to work. Okay, so note to you guys, before you put this piece on, go ahead and emboss Merry Christmas here. Here's the thing, I can still feel that this is a bit damp. Alright, so a smart thing would be, let's not emboss it until it's thoroughly dry. How about an hour from now? Okay? Because your embossing powder is going to kind of go everywhere, I think. So I'm not going to emboss on here just yet. I'm going to have to let this dry. But I do want to finish this video, so I'm going to do everything else first. Let's talk about the 3 possible products that we can use to get our snowflakes. I just used white, and then I made occasional glitterings on top of the white, not all of the white. And then when you put white on the trees, you really have to pick a dense piece of black inking so that the white shows up. So space out your little snowflakes. Okay, let's there's 3 things that I use for snowflakes. My most recent love is this white paint Sharpie marker. It's probably a mistake to open these things over top of your artwork. Okay, they always get a little bit globby, so I clean them with my wet wipe. And then you have to push in your pen to load it up. Okay, and it's always a little bit globby to start with, so I cleaned it up. I'm gonna shake it. I suppose you don't have to watch that. Make sure it's well mixed. Now I'm gonna touch it here and there. Okay, so this makes excellent white snowflakes, but they have to practice making them really tiny. So probably going to use this. Another really good one is this Jelly Roll White. Okay, not the clear, but the white. Alright, and so you got to get that one working. Again, you got to clear it off a little bit. Get the ball rolling, and you can get excellent snowflakes with this too. I like this product. Okay, here's my latest happiness is the Copic Opaque White, and it's got a built-in fine brush tip. The only thing is, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with a brush, you're not going to want to use this. But you can certainly get tiny little snowflakes with this. Which brings up, if you're desperate, you know, go get some white nail polish. So I'm going to take my time, and the snowflakes that matter to me the most are the ones that are in the blue. I'm even going to go on the very edge. Okay, and then when I do a snowflake in the trees, I'm going to make sure I'm putting it right on the darkest black. Okay, quick little confession here. I already switched to this one. So, just thought I'd make that little confession. Okay, back off camera. So I wanted to show you I've got my snowflakes on. I haven't added any glitter yet because I want to do the inside of the card first. And I did add it to my actual card piece. I'm going to remind you that I have foam mounting underneath the black layer, and I have foam mounting under this Spellbinder layer as well. I carefully matched this cardstock here to this blue here. So even though I used Adirondack Denim and Adirondack Meadow, I picked them because these colors went with this paper and this paper. And actually, I chose the color, I started with this paper first, and then I picked this one. And then I did this blue denim to match this green, and then I picked this cardstock here because the chances of getting a good matching cardstock to this blue are really high. It's always harder to match your pattern piece of paper because, as you know, pattern paper comes and goes, so whatever you have is whatever you have to match. So this is the most important part right here. Then get this color, then get this color, and this is a lot easier to find because cardstocks are standard, more standard, and easier to match up than something like this that comes and goes. Alright, so that's how I picked that. Actually did lose my bow on the original and had to make a new one. I have no idea where it went. Okay, let's take a look at the inside. Okay, so the inside, I took a matching piece of paper right here and tore it, even though, because we have to have something to write on. So I can't put snow down here. So what I did is I put a line of glitter on here to just, you know, give a bow to snow. But because it's white up here, it just didn't look good to have glitter paper here. You know, that doesn't do anything for me. And then I just stamped a partial stamping of my tree right here, and I added bits of glitter to this too. So this provides a really nice working space. And then I have the black mat to frame it properly. Let's take a look at the measurements. My black mat is 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and my white piece is 5 1/8 inch by 3 7/8 inch. So I'm going to adhere, actually I'm not. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this piece of paper that matches my card, and I'm going to tear it and put it on here. Okay, one more look inside the original. I did not leave any white on the tear. So in order to do that, here's how it's going to go. I'm going to tear away from me. And if, you know, you get it wrong, just use one side or the other, because you can see that's leaving the white right there. You know, a little bit of a creative tear here. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's going to look like so. Can't help myself. I think I'm going to put more of a swoop in there. I like that better. I don't know why. I just do. All right. Then I'm going to take my stamp. Let's take a look at the original. Right, looks like I'm hiding the grass once more and just doing a partial stamping. So let's take a look at how much I'm leaving here. Okay, so a little over 1/4 of an inch. So take a look at all this grass. I don't want that to show, so I'm going to lower it down. I'm going to move this over a bit. Apply lots of pressure. Okay. That's too bad, actually. It would have been better if there was grass showing so that I could actually cover it up. See what's going to happen? This is going to get covered. Man, I don't really like that. So I'm going to turn this over. And this time, I'm going to make sure that I'm higher up on the page, so I have something to work with. That means some of this grass has to be on this. Let's try this and see if we do any better. Okay. Almost looks like there's a little too much. Oh, we're just going to make it. Okay, so let's glue this down. Ugh. Look at the other side of this paper. Ick. I'm sure it has its strong points, but it is definitely not going to work on this card. Holy cow, that's ugly. Alright, turn this over. Match up the corners. Okay, so normally what I would do is I would take my art glitter glue and I'd run a fine line right here and then put a bunch of touches on my trees, and then I would add my glitter just because I like the way it looks. But just to tout on a product that I really like that a customer pointed out to me, I have all the white glitters except for Stardust, and she was saying it was her favorite glue, and I can see why, because it's neither having tinges of violet or tinges of green like it is for Diamond and for some of the other ones. So I really like this one. It's a great, very neutral glitter glue, Stardust. Okay, so I put it on the top of the grass. It is picking up a little bit of the green, which is, you know, maybe not the greatest idea. That's too picky. And I'm not bothering to put green on this. I like the stark black of this. So, okay, so that would be an alternative to using a thin line glue and glitter. And that's going to look great for the inside. I'm going to let that dry, but that's going to end up being on this mat like so. Okay, let's let that dry. Okay, so I could use this Stardust, and if you do, and you run it on the top edge of this glitter paper, make sure it's not on the green, because then what you're going to have is kind of more of a green glitter line, and it would be better if it was a white glitter line. So make sure it's on this and not the trees. And then you can do random touches. I wouldn't do all of the snow, it just doesn't look as good. Okay, but just for the sake of difference, I'm going to use my art glitter glue and my glitter to finish off the sparkles on this tree instead. Okay, so I'm going to add some, using my art glitter glue, I'm going to add a touch here and there of glue to random snowflakes, because I feel like if I have too much glitter on here, it's just going to look gaudy. So I don't want to do that. And I'm going to do some random touches. And I think that's another reason why I'm picking glitter instead of glitter glue, just to have a little bit less. And then I'm going to run a line of glue right here along the edge. Now remember that we don't want to put it on the trees, otherwise it'll shine green. Okay, and here's the thing about this glue. Make sure the pin goes right back in. Otherwise, glue's not going to work again. Okay, here's the glitter I'm using. Doesn't really matter what brand you use, just make something white and sparkling. And instead of using too much, because the more you use, the more mess, right? I'm going to sprinkle right over top of this line of glue. And then randomly over the card. And then I'm going to go straight into something to capture it with. And probably the reason why I put my whole card together is because I get impatient. I like to mostly finish the card and then set it aside to dry and then know that I'm done. I'm going to put an extra blob on that blob. And like to feel like I'm finished, so it's probably not the smartest thing to do. And then brush it here and there. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see a lot of glitter right there. And that's because that ink is still a little bit damp. It's not going to stick. You're going to have to let this dry. But once it's dry, you can fluff it out with a brush and get rid of all the excess glitter glue. So if you're smarter than me, you probably would have done this whole piece and embossed right there and then put the card together, but I get impatient. Okay, and then once you've done that, of course, retrieve all your glitter. Okay, so let's take a look one more time at our card. I want to tell you what I used for the Merry Christmas. I have this thing of sentiments by Penny Black, and it's called From Our Family to Yours. And on the back it says Yuletide Greetings, right there, 30-192, and it's got a lot of nice Christmas designs on it, very elegant, and I picked this one for the size and for the way it looks. And I embossed it right there, which is not something I'm going to do today because I feel sure you already know how to emboss. Now let's take a look at the inside of the card and the outside of the card. A little bit of glitter on there and we're done. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy making your cards.